Hey there, and welcome back to our kitchen. I'm Casey, one of Festival's Mealtime Mentors. Today we're using a jelly roll pan to make a classic holiday dessert, which is pumpkin cheesecake slab pie. A slab pie is basically the same as a regular pie, except, like I said, we're using a jelly roll pan instead of a regular pie pan. A jelly roll pan is just like a baking sheet, but it's a little bit smaller, and it has that 1-inch lip that is really perfect for filling with pie. So to get started with this, I have 2 pre-made pie crusts over here that I've just kind of overlapped about halfway. I have them on a floured surface, and I'm just going to roll them out so that the 2 crusts blend together, and also we'll stretch it just a little bit so that it fits the jelly roll pan that we're using. So you could certainly, if you have your own recipe for pie crust, use that instead. You know, just using the amount for 2 crusts. But it also works just fine with the pre-made crusts. All right, so this looks like it'll be about the right size for our pan. So to move it over to the pan, which I have coated with cooking spray, I'm just going to fold it in half to make it a little bit easier to move over. And then back over. All right, and then I'm just going to make sure that it fills the pan, and I have a little bit of overhang of the crust. And now I'm going to go around and just trim that crust to about a ½ inch around. It's really whatever your preference is for the crust. And at this point, once you have the crust trimmed, if you would like to go around and crimp or flute the edges, you can certainly do that. I'm not very good at that. Whenever I try, it doesn't really transfer over well to the final product, so I'm not going to do that today, but by all means, go for it if that's your jam. All right, so I've got this crust all trimmed, so I'm going to move this over and then start working on our pumpkin filling. So for this filling, I have 2 cans of pumpkin in a saucepan. I'm going to put it over medium heat, and then I'm going to add to that some sugar, cinnamon, some salt, ginger, cloves, and nutmeg. Of course, all those classic pumpkin pie flavors. And I'm going to give this a stir. We are going to bring this to a simmer, and then we're going to let it cook for about 5 to 7 minutes, and we're going to kind of stir throughout. This pumpkin looks so good, and it smells amazing, so I think we're done. I'm going to transfer this now to a larger bowl. All right. And then to this, I'm going to add some half and half. The half and half kind of helps to cool the pumpkin down a little bit, because our next step is going to be adding eggs, and we want to make sure that those eggs don't cook right away when we get them in the mixture. So I'm going to whisk this together. Looks good. So now I'm going to add 4 eggs, and I'm going to whisk after each addition. We got all the eggs in, all mixed throughout. So at this point, I'm going to pour my mixture into the pie crust. And it seems like it's going to be too much, but once we get it all spread out, it evens out really nicely. So I'm just going to spread this out, make sure it gets in all the corners. Okay, this looks really nice. So now I'm going to get started on the cream cheese filling. So for this, I have some softened cream cheese. To this, I'm going to add some sugar, some more half and half, an egg yolk, and some vanilla. And then I'm going to use a hand mixer. You can certainly just use a whisk to mix this together. So now the last step is to get our cream cheese filling into our pumpkin. So I'm just going to dollop some of this mixture throughout. And this is something that definitely doesn't need to look perfect. I'm the least artistic person there is, so if I can do this, you definitely can. Just dollop it throughout, and then once you do your swirl design, that's where it starts really taking shape. So for the swirl design then, I'm just going to take a butter knife, and you can swirl it. You can really do whatever you want. I'm just going to kind of go back and forth and make some lines, and then I'm going to go the other way too. All right, so this will bake for about 15 minutes at 400, and then we'll decrease the heat to 350 and bake it for another 20 minutes or so until the center is only slightly jiggly and a toothpick inserted in the center comes out with no pumpkin. So we have one already prepared. See, I told you, you don't have to be artsy for it to look okay. Size up your pumpkin cheesecake with this slab pie. To get this recipe on your phone, text SLAB to 78402. And for more holiday recipe ideas, visit bestfoods.com/holiday.